Bigger than any Grimm. I don't believe it. Nora declared. I'm serious. The only Grimm that might possibly be bigger is the giant whale Grimm, and I'm not even sure if Salem has created it as of the point in time I brought you all from. Katana told Den. This is gonna be so cool. I bet it's a huge dragon that could set a whole kingdom on fire. RWBY declared. My vote is for a shark. Cinder said. She'd always been fond of the terrors of the sea. Well, the largest animals on our planet are whales, so it's a safe assumption that's what it will be. Penny theorized. I call a giant snake. Nora voted. Whatever it is, it will no doubt be impressive. Ozpin said. Right you are, Ozpin. Behold. Katana said as the video started. The edge of an island leading off into the vast ocean was seen, accompanied by some cheery undersea music was heard as a massive creature with a giant horn was seen breaking the surface of the water. However, after a few more moments, the creature suddenly burst out of the water, letting out a huge scream, before crashing back down below the waves and heading under the island as the music played again. RWBY, Nora, Penny, Neo, and especially Velvet all fell in love with the opening song, practically dancing in their seats. I love musicals. Velvet cried out. It sounds so happy and fun. I want to go swimming in the ocean now. Penny declared. Are you even able to go in the water? Winter asked in concern. Even if you could, I would highly advise against that. There's been an increase in sea Grimm activity lately. You could run into Ironwood began. However, the Ceadeus then breached, causing them all to scream. Never mind. No swimming. Neo cried out. Ditto. RWBY and Nora agreed. Precisely. You could run into something like that. Ironwood finished. Hello, then fellow hunters. Let's descend into the deep. Rage declared as the hunter starring in the video jumped off a ledge and into the ocean, the screen going black with a splash sound, before he was seen in an underwater cavern with the creature from earlier swimming into the distance. And have a whale of a time. Yeah, we're in for one of those. Rage declared with a laugh as the hunter swam after the massive beast. As the hunter swam, the name of the creature appeared in the middle of the screen. Meet Ceadeus. Ceadeus. Ceadeus? Ceadeus? Rage questioned as the name got larger with each attempt to say it. I think the first one sounds best. Pyrrha said. My vote is for either the first or the third one, since they're shorter. Crow said lazily. I believe Ceadeus sounds the most impressive. Ozpin stated. Pick the first one, easy to remember. Nora gave her opinion. Well, I think Ceadeus has a more regal and elegant ring to it. Weiss declared. No, Ceadeus sounds better. Not everything has be all fancy schmancy. Young voted. I'm just going to forget that you just said schmancy. Weiss said. For me the third name sounds like the correct one. Emerald decided. With how it's spelled, I think Ceadeus is the proper way of pronouncing it. Glinda theorized. Ugh, why do some monster have to have such complex names? RWBY complained. Look, honestly? With the amount of arguing with how actually to say this, I'm just gonna call him Big Fucking Whale. Rage declared as the hunter began to close the distance between himself and the enormous creature in the background. Yang snickered. Yeah, I'd say that's a more fitting name. She declared. Sometimes I can't tell which of you is the more immature sister. Weiss said. Hey. RWBY whined while pouting. Weiss, you know that isn't nice and it was uncalled for. Penny scolded, causing Weiss to shrink in shame and the sisters to giggle. Big fucking whale superficially resembles a Dunkleistos, a very much ancient marine fish. Rage explained as an image of a fish with an armored head and jaw was shown attacking another of its kind. Rage then cracked up at what he had said. As opposed to, those ancient sky fish. He declared. A clip of a fish falling through the air was then shown. Hello, ground. The fish greeted as he plummeted towards it. Oh, man. It is gonna hurt when that fish hits the ground. John said. It always did impress me how nature seems to evolve exactly as it needs to in order for certain species to do certain things. Ojpin noted. It's like Oceanais said, nature has a drive to eat and survive. We survivors refuse to starve. Cinder declared. The armored front half is incredible, though. And it doesn't have teeth, so its jaw became sharp and bony. The perfect offense and defense. And it lets it crunch through anything, so it's never going hungry. Emerald said, slightly enviously. You two aren't on the streets or in dire straits anymore. You don't have to worry about starving or surviving anymore. Winter reminded them both. Almost as if to remind themselves of this, the girls made themselves some nice treats out of thin air, Emerald getting a bowl of mint ice cream and Cinder getting a bowl of strawberries. 1. Too much bone, not enough meat. Blake said, disappointed at the fish on screen. Oh, Blake, how wrong you are. Dunkleistos, Earth's first vertebrate apex predator. 8 meters long and 4 tons. Lived during the Devonian from 380 to 358 million years ago in much of the world, with remains found in Ohio and Morocco. Part of a group of fish called placoderms that are armor-plated and the teeth are made from said armor plates. Can open and close in less than a second and clamp down with nearly 2 tons of force. So yeah, needless to say, there was probably a lot more meat than bone on it. Katana told the cat Faunus. 2. Rage sighed before continuing. He is an elder dragon, the ocean dragon, and he is gargantuan. Reaching almost 60 meters in length, and he is. He declared as someone saying about being chunky. He would dwarf 2 blue whales end to end, and he has the sheer force befitting his size. They are able to travel at incredible speeds, at least relative to their bulk. They do this to launch skyward, cresting into the air, to take a breath. But this, though, is a very much sought-after, rare sight to behold for 2 main reasons. Ceadeus live in the deep dark where light not penetrates, and there are all manner of horror. He informed of Ceadeus' living habits, before a strange creature that looked like some kind of octopus, along with a dragon-like head on either of its sides was shown as the music played a short, but very creepy beat. Everyone was a bit shocked and disturbed when they saw the monstrous cuttlefish. Are we ever going to learn whatever that thing is? Ren asked nervously. I'm not sure I want to know. Velvet said fearfully. It may be disturbing, Miss Valentina, but it's better to know now and be a bit disturbed than to find ourselves against it with no knowledge. Glinda tried to assure her timid student, but she was also not sure she'd want to experience that creature. Tough to argue without logic. Coco admitted uneasily. The second is that it can hold its breath for months at a time. Like months. Rage declared to emphasize the point as the hunter swam along with Ceadeus, repeatedly stabbing it in the face. Like dash. Rage began, before taking a deep breath, which he soon lost due to a fit of giggles. Why did I take a breath? Here, let me demonstrate. He mocked himself as the hunter continued to follow and stab at Ceadeus, who barely even registered the attacks, let alone the threat the hunter posed. Months? Everyone shouted in disbelief. I think my brain is refusing to process that. John said. That's unreal. The closest any of our animals get is 2 hours and 17 minutes. Penny cried out. Okay, these things are getting ridiculous. Crow said. I think we crossed that line somewhere between the rocket-powered elder dragon and the praying mantis that can make a mech. Yang told her uncle. Which is an impressive pair of lungs on him, and it lets him go about his lazy life down there with very much ease, drifting in the cold void, waiting for its next meal, for he is a predator, albeit fairly specialized. Using the aforementioned speed, he can ram into potential prey, the two horns cresting his head, two of the most impressive horns among monsters. They are dense as rock and sharpened to a razor point. Well, they will impale, crush and generally obliterate all in their path, and in their path tends to be Nakarkos. Rage declared, showing the creature that had briefly appeared a second ago another look. Yes, an adult Ceadeus is a big fan of juicy blue meat. Though, Nakarkos does like to get a little bit of petty revenge and preys a lot on young baby Ceadeus, who make quite the nice little snack. I say petty revenge like, oh, you. That's a little bit childish. Eating my kids. What are you like, Nakarkos? Can't look away for a second. Rage explained the rivalry between the two elder dragons and enacted a Ceadeus laughing off a Nakarkos' petty revenge. I think the only person who would consider that petty revenge is Salem. Oshpin stated. Cinder would consider killing someone else's kids petty revenge. Neo teased. I would not. That's reserved for only the people who absolutely ruin your life. Cinder declared. How about we just stop talking about killing kids? Blake suggested. But no. It is a little bit of a back and forth between these two as they are the titans of the ocean deep and they vie for control all the time. In fact, Nakarkos tend to come to the surface and make the nest of bones we know and love so much when they are been driven away by a hungry Ceadeus. Rage explained how Nakarkos seems to be at a disadvantage in the rivalry. Everyone shuddered at the idea of a bone nest, but said nothing. But back to Ceadeus and specifically back to his mighty pair of ram sticks. Well, Ceadeus lives a very long time, so long, in fact. Well, we'll get to that. But it is lengthy and unfortunately for him, well his horns. They don't stop growing and they don't stop growing, Rage said as if he was starting to sing, before it cut to a music video of a man repeatedly saying how they don't stop coming, which fit quite well for the horns in the context with what Rage said. Which means eventually, well, he ends up blind. So. Yeah, it kinda sucks to be an old Ceadeus. Rage stated as the hunter swam ahead of Ceadeus as it finally attacked. The poor thing. Pyrrha said. I know that an animal's horns generally keep growing, but to completely cover its eyes? That doesn't make sense. That's a detrimental flaw in their evolution that should have been worked out at some point. Emerald said. Evolution doesn't always work perfectly. You saw DeVille. There are mishaps from time to time. Winter reminded her. Please don't bring up that thing again. Ruby said fearfully. And even in our world, goats and rams' horns have been known to grow long enough to curl around and start digging into their head and kill them. Ren informed them, causing everyone to shiver at the visual. 3. But, hey. Ceadeus is part of one of the most elite, exclusive groups amongst monsters. They are known as the few without legs. Rage declared, before another music video was shown of 3 men aboard a boat, but with the heads of Ceadeus, Nakarkos and another cephalopod-like creature in the shape of a ball. Then, I'd assume they're all sea creatures? They certainly all look like ocean-dwelling creatures. Ironwood said. You're not wrong, James, but when it comes to these monsters, I think any conventional thought goes out the window. Glinda told him. Out of the 3, I think Ceadeus is the only one I'd want to get anywhere near. Velvet voiced her opinion. You mean, assuming it won't gobble you up? Nora asked, causing Velvet to flinch in fear. Nora! Coco snapped at her. It's all right, Velvet. Ceadeus probably only eats big meals like Nakarkos. Coco assured her girlfriend. So how does he get by? Well, so deep in the ocean where light fears to tread? He is one glow-why boy. He has panels lining down his body, acting as fleshy light bulbs glowing eerily in the gloom. He is a champion of bioluminescence. But it doesn't stop there, for he is in a symbiotic relationship with some algae. Rage explained, before crickets could be heard as the hunter swam around ahead of the Ceadeus. Look, it's not our place to judge when true love rears its head, okay? Alright. This algae then, loves to live in Ceadeus' signature and legendary beard. It is a beautiful beard. It is a beard of kings. It is a champion beard. God, what a fucking beard. Rage declared excitedly, fawning over the beard with an echo to his voice as romantic music played over the video while the hunter swam along after Ceadeus, attacking and being ignored all the while. Bowed down to the facial hair. Velvet declared, remembering the time she mimicked Port boasting about his weapon on his blog. It reminds me of my grandfather's beard. Weiss said nostalgically. It looks so soft. I want to sleep on it. Neo said. It looks big enough to fit everyone in Salem's inner circle. Even with Salem and Hazel being freakishly tall and Tyrion's tail. Cinder agreed. I have considered growing a beard in the future. It would help when I head back to Atlas, as well. Ironwood said. No. Katana shouted. And it lives in there, and it softly also hums with light, but its chief purpose is to produce oxygen. Not to take away from his lungs, but they aren't nearly as impressive as I made them sound earlier. Rage admitted as the screen went dark with people gasping. This algae then produces oxygen as a waste product and it gets trapped between his hairs in a thin film of air. This then is eventually shaken loose and a portion of it taken on board as an almost undersea refill station that is growing underneath his chin. It's a pretty neat system, all in all. Rage declared as the Ceadeus finally started swinging its tail at the hunter assailing it. Oh. That's kind of disappointing. Ren stated. You're kidding, right? He can breathe underwater with his beard. That is awesome. John declared. How, though? How does he get just the air bubbles and none of the water? Does he just open his mouth and get the bubble? It's the only thing from video games I question. Ruby cried out. Is that really the only thing you question, Ruby? Penny asked with a bit of concern for her friend. She may be naive, but at least she knows better than to simply believe fictional media. I keep telling her she can't learn everything from games, but she keeps calling Crow started. Blasphemy. Ruby cried out. A huge muscular tail, flippers that could quite literally slap you silly. He is quite agile for his size, too, spiraling around, lithe and wiggly like a snake. He can fit in surprisingly small spaces. In fact, this is what caused the conflict with Ceadeus, for he is a calm monster by nature. Ridiculously calm, like detrimentally calm. Like, this guy is so calm, it kills him. He has to be provoked unbelievably, at least when it's by a hunter, an equally sized combatant and he is ready to go, but the fly-esque poking and pinching of a hunter swimming alongside, he's just. Ah, that's cute, look at him. He's having fun. I'm losing a bit of blood, but he'll tucker himself out soon, the little darling. You have to wail on him and Rage explained, before realizing what he said as the Ceadeus roared at the hunter underwater. Wail on him? That one was an accident. He insisted as the Ceadeus continued to swim ahead. Oh come on. That one was also good. Yang assured their host, despite the fact he couldn't hear her. Maybe a little, but only because it was an unintended pun. Blake stated. And as everyone knows, unintended puns are more tasteful than forced ones. Which is why yours are never funny. Weiss declared. She gets one ever. 20 times. Neo tried to defend Yang. I'm not sure whether to be impressed by its patience, or concerned for its well-being over its level of restraint. Ironwood said. If that's actually his reaction to getting stabbed repeatedly, definitely the latter. Pyrrha voted. And wail on him until eventually, after following him slowly through this underwater cavern system, he will eventually be like, alright. Enough's enough. Someone is about to die. Rage declared as Ceadeus was shown coiled up like a snake in the middle of a large underwater cavern as a chorus sang epic music. Ceadeus then uncoiled and pointed its body upwards to the top of the cave, sucking in huge amounts of water as his body's light panels glowed brightly. He then fired a massive blast of water from his mouth like a jet cutter, before getting into a more maneuverable position to fight the hunter. And yeah. Is that not one of the best, just beautiful themes? I adore it. Although I was a little bit confused when I found out it was about. Rage admitted as subtitles were added and, if they were to be believed, the song was about needing and wanting bees, which made little to no sense. I know, right? Who would have thought? The bees. Rage said as the hunter swam towards some ancient ruin. Everyone's breath was taken away. That music. That jet of water. It was all incredible. Winter said in awe. It's truly as if it was a god of the ocean. Glinda agreed. Truly, these creatures are just as majestic and awe-inspiring as they are intimidating and powerful. Ashpin stated. So, once this is where most hunters have tracked Ceadeus to and fought him here, in a spiraling, crumbling underwater ruin. A forgotten civilization, a relic whose treasures are just waiting to be discovered. But first, we gotta go fishing. Rage declared as Ceadeus quickly swam up to where the hunter was to attack him, only for the hunter to hit a button and shoot a massive spike out at the beast that clearly hurt, but didn't seem to do much damage. Everyone cringed at the spike. Out. That's gotta hurt so bad. Weiss said fearfully and sympathetically, not even being able to imagine what it would be like to get impaled. The poor baby. Velvet said. But even then, it definitely looked hurt, but it doesn't even seem too injured from that spike. Cinder said in disbelief. He wasn't lying, it is quite fast for its size. Penny confirmed. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering what its top speed is. Something tells me that Hunter wouldn't be able to just swim after it. Coco guessed. The battle isn't the most intensive thing in the world. He, despite being fast for his size, is still fairly slow compared to a hunter. He can bash into you bodily, going for the headbutt, tail slaps, he just likes to throw his weight and around, I mean, that is a lot of weight and a lot of strength. But, you can kind of flow with him and you can learn to deal. He does have one particularly lethal onslaught with an absolutely cataclysmic slicing torrent of water that just shreds you, the room and, well, a little bit of reality. Rage warned of Ceadeus' deadly attacks as the torrent of water was shown in all its devastating glory. That would tear most non-military vessels in half effortlessly. Ironwood said in shock. Just imagine what it would do to a person. John said nervously. My guess? It'd be like an anime when someone is engulfed in an energy wave and they get vaporized. Neo voiced her opinion. The hunter was then shown swimming again next to one of Ceadeus' horns, which he must have broken off in the fight. His light panels then will turn red as he gets angry, the blood flowing through them and adding to an already otherworldly visage. But the reason it's down here, the reason it's in these caverns. Well, it's trying to deal with its horns. They keep growing, right? So it can kinda combat that by butting them against the seafloor, generally. This will file them down and buy him a little bit more I still have vision time. Which, by the way, he does with such force that he causes tsunamis to start powering towards civilization. That just has to be unlucky as hell. Just minding your own business and then Rage informed of why Ceadeus is an issue, before a clip of a massive tsunami overtaking the land and swallowing people by the dozens was shown. Damn you, Ceadeus. Rage shouted to likely mimic the thoughts of the people about to be consumed by the massive tsunami. 4. No way. Yang said in disbelief. All those people. Wiped out by that massive wave. Osh in shock and horror. Blake was equally horrified at this. If one of those did that anywhere near Menagerie, half of the faunus population could be wiped out. Along with my parents. She said fearfully, imaging a Ceadeus causing a wave that would level her home. And Argus. My hometown would be destroyed. One of John's sisters lives there, too. Pyrrha said worriedly, while John was shocked and everyone else smirked at the fact Pyrrha knew so much about John's family she knew one of his sisters lives there. We'd need to provide all coastal regions with hard light towers to protect them from such tidal waves. Winter planned for how to counter such waves. A snap was heard before the fight between the hunter and Ceadeus was shown again. But this Ceadeus in particular, sadly had to be slain, decided to butt his horns against the side of a cave. And this cave just happened to be connected to the ground on which Moga village was built, a seafaring community. And this, well, it caused huge, disastrous earthquakes that completely disrupted the way of life, causing huge damage and general despair, which wasn't great. And initially Lagiacrus was blamed for this, and he was captured by a top huntress, just in case. You gotta be thorough. Right? You gotta work through your suspects, one body at a time. And, eventually we found out it was a Ceadeus, and we dove down into the ruins and had one final eclectic bout. Rage declared as the hunter avoided Ceadeus' attacks and stabbed its back several times with his lance. A living creature causing tsunamis and earthquakes. That's unreal. The worst thing I can think of is wild boar raising fields and eating the eggs of ground-nesting birds. 5. That's a pretty big leap from that to earthquakes. Emerald said in shock. Still, it's sad we have to kill them because they don't want to go blind. Isn't there anything we could do? Like go down with big files or saws and trim the horns so they can see? Ruby asked. I agree. There must be some other way to deal with the beast than simply killing it. Penny said, not feeling right about killing something that only wanted to be able to see. One of her father's dear friends was actually someone who regularly needed her eye prosthetics fixed. Well, if 10 years was regularly. Katana smiled at the girl's innocence. I think you both would like cotton. The first time he was ever told about Ceadeus and why they needed to kill it, along with another elder dragon whose reason for being hunted is more tragic, he instantly thought of ways to avoid needing to kill them. He's a good guy. Katana said, before remembering how he stole and then purposefully dropped and broke a Malfestro egg, then the baby Yayan Cuckoo dual blades. Never mind. She said. Legendary elder dragons, known as both shining giants of the depths and great sea dragons. Not confirmed to exist until recently, the Moga quakes were due to a Ceadeus butting its abnormally long horns into the earth. Rage declared with an echo to his voice and ominous music to accompany him. He then sighed in content. He's a fun one, he really is, and he gets even more fun. See, I mentioned earlier something else happens when a Ceadeus gets old enough and, well, it turns gold. He announced excitedly, before a beautiful, shimmering gold Ceadeus was shown as someone sang about being shiny. Whoa. That is so cool. It's like Yang's hair when she's using her semblance. Nora cried out. Yeah, only it's like that all the time. Crow agreed, to which his eldest niece nodded. It's beautiful. Just stunning. Blake said, at a loss for words. Incredible. Pyrrha said. Now known as the Goldbeard Ceadeus. Rage started, before sighing in wonder. Isn't it beautiful? absolutely shining in its splendor. Rage said, speaking in amazement as the gold-bearded Ceadeus fired the familiar torrent of water from its mouth. Suddenly, the scene quickly cut to Kulf Taroth, who didn't look pleased. What the foo, dash? A man's voice demanded for her, before quickly cutting back to Goldbeard. Everyone chuckled at Kulf Taroth's cameo, remembering her from RWBY's lore. Someone's jealous. Nora laughed. Can you blame her? Now that's the beard I want for a bed. Coco said excitedly. Next business we're opening, underwater barber shop. Neo declared, holding up an electric razor. You do remember it needs its beard to breathe, right? Cinder questioned. Neo deflated at this. You ruin all my dreams, she said, tossing the razor over her shoulder. This golden hue then, is by it having, well, rather too much bacteria than it needs, escaping from just the confines of the beard, spreading thickly across his entire body, the soft shimmer appearing him to be coated in gold. Now its horns, completely covering its eyes, absolutely just I think I can use it, ginormous. It can still mysteriously sense the hunters, lending the guild to speculate that the horn problem may not be one after all. However, what they can confirm is that being blind all the time kind of makes him a grumpy little swimmer, and he is a lot more aggressive than a normal Ceadeus, requiring very little provocation to wreck your shit. Rage gave a final warning before stopping the discussion on the deep ocean dragon. It would make sense. With his sight gone, his other senses would heighten in order to compensate. Ren theorized. There have been records of other huntsmen who have excelled despite the loss of one sense or another. Glinda noted. That's all well and good, but I think I'll stick to being the normal kind of awesome where I still have all my senses. Yang declared. So, thoughts? Katana asked. That was really cool. It's nice to see really big, but really nice monsters. John said. I wouldn't mind going swimming with one. Velvet admitted. That'd be so cool. We'd be like those stripy fish that swim with sharks. Ruby cheered. Pilot fish. Emerald told her. Yeah, that. Just think of how cool it would be to swim alongside a big monster whale, or even better, clinging to its beard as it breaches. Ruby said excitedly. Have you forgotten the part where its method of filing its horns causes massive tsunamis? Ren asked. He does have a point, Ruby. I myself wouldn't mind having such a passive giant grace our seas. But it could put lives in danger if it makes a tidal wave near a populated area. Ojpin warned. We could likely counter the tsunamis with hard light barriers. Ironwood theorized. Nice. So we're all good then. We can go beard riding. Neo cheered. It's just a shame that they go blind from the horns growing, though. Pyrrha said sadly. Definitely. I don't even want to imagine losing an eye. Cinder agreed, shuddering in fear at the possibility. Katana whistled innocently at this. Yeah. And even more that hunters have to kill them for trying to keep their eyesight. I mean, can't they just go down and try to file off the horn? Weiss asked. Or I could break them off with my hammer. Nora declared. But there's a large list of problems that goes along with that, students. The monster could misinterpret our intentions and believe we're a threat. Or, it could prove too difficult a task to do while swimming underwater. It's why water-based Grimm are among the more dangerous kinds, since they're more difficult to deal with. Ironwood explained. But it is good that you are looking for alternate methods to deal with the monster. That goes to show how much you all value life. Winter told them. Exactly. I want you all to know, I'm proud of you. Glinda told them, causing them to smile. She then looked to Katana. But, I'd also be proud to know what my monster is. she said casually, clearly trying to get them to move on to the next monster. Her monster. Katana rolled her eyes, but smiled at them. Alright, prepare for a monster from the darkest abyss of your nightmares. The king of the seas himself, Lagiacrus. Katana declared, playing the next episode.